Have you ever faced any controversy for doing this?
Last year we had a family from Nigeria. They watched us dance and I went up to the lady and said, you were very interested. How did you find that? She said, absolutely splendid. And she says, I have to say I can see nothing African about your dance. I said, thank you. I wish I could have that in writing.
That's the first thing I was gonna say. You're gonna get angry at people that you say they're pretending to be black, dancing like that? I'm like, come on, man.
When they started in 1857, there wouldn't have been any black faces other than the coal miners, the men working in the quarry. So how can it be racist?
I'm proud of the coconuters, and I really am not one of those woke people that, oh, I'm offended by this and I'm offended. People need mental health therapy, those people. I'm not one of those.
If we took our disguise off now, which is significant to this costume, we're admitting we're guilty of something we've never been guilty of.
I just find it odd when something empowered a culture at a specific time. I'm surprised certain people want to take it away. I'm like, why?
Why? Why?
That's like my people on Curacao is immigrating people that say dancing is a sin, and Curacao Caribbean people, we like to dance. Come on, man. You need to see the fine lines. And most people that I know from third world country don't even care about this.
They're like, oh, no, I don't mind diversity. I want diversity because they can do math. If you're under the age of 20 right now, your generational group, the Gen Alpha group, are already majority non-white. So it's fait accompli. In 2045, the United States will be a country that no longer has a white majority. We are essentially a Latin American country, and we're going to look more like Latin American countries, which we kind of are, right? We're going to look more like our region where most people will be brown, and the majority will not be white. Texas is already there. California is already there. The whole country's going in that direction.
These are the same people that ask you, oh, so you're one of those that believe in the replacement theory. But then again, I can see you're proud about replacement theory, but I'm not supposed to call it. But without calling it, it's a good thing. If I call it, it's a bad thing. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you're gaslighting me.
Some of y'all had 5 years to pay off that student loan with 0 interest.
What?
But let me guess, y'all had the money to go to Coachella, right? Here's the thing. It's called accountability.
When I heard that, I got pissed. You know why? I always complained about US interest is kinda high. You might be paying, but you're only paying the interest. The fact that they put the student loan interest on hold 5 years and you didn't seem to pay anything?
What the heck is that, man?
And now you're angry? I don't know, man. I saw an opportunity, but you didn't take it. And guess what? That's why a bunch of people did take the opportunity to vote for Trump.
Person who half my family was murdered by the actual Hitler. In addition to it being deeply offensive to Jews, to call Trump Hitler is to call over 80 million Americans, 35% of Jewish Americans, 56% of Hispanic men, and the majority of Americans who make under $100,000 a year, Nazis, because those are the people who gave Donald Trump his victory.
No, you're right.
And I just have a pro tip for any Democrats who are thinking about winning back the working class, those people who make under $100,000 a year, who a majority of whom voted for Trump. You should have a visceral disgust for someone like Larry David, who's worth $400 million, sitting there and sneering and smearing the hardest working Americans for refusing to co-sign their own disinheritance. That's effectively what they are doing when these millionaires come out here and call Trump Hitler. They are calling working class Americans Nazis because they chose the person they thought would give their children back the future they were promised by this country. And it just has to stop. And you know what? Honestly, I don't care if the Democrats get this or don't, but they should get this because this is a big part of why they have lost.
And that's why people are voting for... I never wanted to vote until I had kids. So I did investigation to see the benefit I'm going to leave to my kids. And then I realized, oh my God, this government sucks. Oh my God, this government is copying America. Oh my God, when I have an opinion, they
Christmas is cancelled.
Dilo, remember to subscribe.
Imagine you wanted to destroy a country, not with bombs or bullets, but from the inside out. How would you do it? You wouldn't attack its military, you would attack its foundations. You would gut its energy, make power expensive and unreliable. You would cripple its manufacturing, kill off every industry that would make it self-reliant. You would turn housing into a fantasy, where young families can't even dream of owning their own homes. You would erase cultural identity, label everything patriotic as hate. You would flood the job market, increase the demand, and then call it economic growth. You would bankrupt families with cost of living hikes, and then gaslight them to thinking they deserve it. And if you dare to call it out, they'll call you delusional, a bigot, a conspiracy theorist. But here's the thing, this isn't a thought experiment. This is happening. This is happening to Australia right now. Every pillar of our once strong nation is being dismantled in real time, not by accident, not by incompetence, but by design.
And you don't believe this is happening? Well, we can just go to Ireland.
Thousands of it. Look at
You are the petty one!
You won, lads! You won! Yeah, get it going, lads! Get it going! You won!
It's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. If you keep telling people they don't have a voice, but when they do, they're always a bigot, they're going to try to have a voice sooner or later. So this happened in Wales, just another church burned to the ground. Supposedly 2 young people from a different country, which is not in UK, Wales, has done something about it. The problem is, if you want to stop people from doing that, there's a great probability that you're too defensive, you're judging them, and you're a patriarchal bigot.
Come on now, dog.
Yeah, people are just gonna get tired, and slowly we're seeing this more and more.
And I think we need some creative solutions for that. My family, we live in a community. There's 11 of us that live under one roof, 6 different families, no biological connection between many of us. And yet about, I think it's 8 million people in the UK live on their own. And with a program like the Homes for Ukraine program, many people were able to welcome a refugee into their home. And there are so many benefits to both us as hosts. It's actually bad for our mental health. We have worse health outcomes if we live on our own. So maybe we need to get creative and start being hospitable, that I know the Great Britain.
And as usual, whenever we ask the government for some help,
What have you done for me lately?
they're like, hey, well, you live very comfortable under our roof by being very disciplined. Why don't you help us?
Really?
And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people are coming together so they can have a town in a city and feel very comfortable.
What's going on with Warsaw Town Centre? Back in the day, this used to be the one-stop shop. Now it's the one-stop bin. You got people chucking stuff on the floor, and they're right to do so because it's a bin. We used to have flannels. There used to be shops like Maplin that everyone used to go inside to get the remote control cars from. Only I know that, the OGs know that as well. What's going on with Warsaw Town? You got people making, I'm just a kid from Warsaw, yeah. What's that gonna do for us? We've got no shops left, there's no Warsaw left. Look at the town, it's gone dry. The Polish are taking over, there's loads of Polish shops. Where's Flannels gone? Where's Diffusion gone? The only shop that stayed so long was Echo Island, that's still here till present day. Fix Warsaw.
I just think it's very interesting to see an immigrant complaining about another immigrant doing the same strategy, just better, with more consistency.
Well, what do you have to say for yourself?
How many illegal immigrants did Barack Obama deport in his 8 years as president?
Oh, I don't know.
Have a guess.
No clue. I mean, I know it was a lot, but I don't know the exact number.
Have a guess.
I really don't know.
The
More than
answer
Trump.
is over 3 million.
Damn.
He was known as deporter-in-chief by Mexicans.
Yes,
he
read that.
deported way more than any president in history. Who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year in American history?
Oh, come on. President Barack Obama.
Barack Obama,
Yeah.
right? Who got elected in 08-09 on shutting down Guantanamo Bay? Because as a former lawyer, he believed it was an illegal institution.
President
Barack
Barack
Obama.
Obama, yeah.
What is is still open today.
Guantanamo Bay?
Correct, right? The general thing is Obama angel, Trump devil. But if you actually apply the scrutiny that we give Trump, put it this way, if Trump had deported 3 million people, you think you guys wouldn't know that answer? Of course you would.
I'm blind!
Yeah, and that's why we have judges these days that believe Trump is so bad, they can commit a crime and then say, you know what, we live in a dictatorship.
All right, so let's talk about why this judge was actually arrested and not the bullshit reason you've been hearing from all these liberal TikTok creators. Because I'm sure they've told you that they arrested her because Trump's a fascist. You know, because our Constitution is in jeopardy. Because we're almost a dictatorship. No, she was arrested because she very obviously committed a crime. And what crime did she commit? Well, she tried to help a man who was beating his fucking wife escape from the police. That's what she did. See, there was a man in her court named Eduardo Flores Ruiz, and he was not in court for an immigration hearing. No, he was in court because he beat the shit out of his wife. He was there for a domestic violence case. Now, she was the judge for the domestic violence case. She had nothing to do with immigration. However, when she found out that immigration was waiting to arrest this man at the conclusion of the trial, she first went out into the hallway and yelled at everybody, which she's a judge. She's allowed to do that. But then she did something she's not allowed to do. She took the man who was currently in her court for beating the shit out of his wife, and she tried to sneak him out the back of the building through the jury exit. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to help an illegal immigrant who is also on trial for beating the shit out of his wife evade the police. None of you are. I can't do it, you can't do it, and this fucking judge can't do it. She was not arrested because our democracy is in jeopardy. She was arrested because she tried to help a criminal escape the authorities. A criminal who was in her courtroom because he beat the shit out of his wife. I hope she goes to prison.
Also, let's be honest, she let a charged person escape, not through the court building, but through the jury entrance. I'm like, what the heck? The cops might be like, what? We never have to protect the jury because they never commit the crime. You're gonna use that?
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Durloqueta verdeta welcome.